Imagine creating an invoice in Excel where you simply select the client and everything fills in automatically. Their contact information, payment terms, even the invoice number. In this video, I'll show you how to build this automated Excel invoice template step by step using XLOOKUP and other formulas so you can create invoices in seconds. Let's take a look. Here's the finished invoice template. When I select a client from the drop-down, Excel is going to automatically fill in their contact information and the payment terms. It even generates a unique invoice number and calculates the due date on the invoice based on that client's payment terms. Then down here, I can choose one of my products or services, enter the units or hours, hit enter, and Excel automatically pulls the unit price and calculates the total for my invoice. So once this is set up, creating an invoice takes just a few seconds. Now, if you'd rather not build this from scratch, I've included the template from this video in the description so you can customize it for your own business. Now let's go ahead and build this out. Now to make the automation work, we need a simple client database. So over here on my workbook, I have a clients tab with all of my client information. And then I also have a products and services tab that contains all of my products and services along with the unit price. Now let's go over to our invoice sheet and start building this out. I'm going to select the cell next to client company name, and here's where we want the drop-down list to be located. So I'm going to come up to the data tab. We're going to come up to the data tools area, drop down and select data validation. On the settings tab, under the allow area, drop down and select list. Place your cursor in the source. Now we're going to navigate to the client's spreadsheet. And here's where I want the drop down to be the client name. So I'm going to select column B, and then I'm going to click OK. Now in my dropdown, I have all of my clients listed here that I can select from. Next, we'll use XLOOKUP to automatically pull in all of their information. So below the client company name is client ID. I'm going to select the cell under that, and now I'm going to start typing my XLOOKUP formula. I'm going to type equals XLOOKUP. When it comes up down below, you can just hit tab, and it'll open up the parentheses for you, and the first argument is the lookup value. So we actually want to look up the value that's the client company name in the cell above. So I'm going to select cell C13. Then I'm going to hit function F4 on my keyboard, and that's going to anchor that so that I can reference that cell. Then I'm going to type comma, and that'll move to my next argument, which is the lookup array. So we're going to navigate back to the clients list. We're going to look for that client name over here in column B, so we'll select that, hit comma, and then we want to return the client ID number. So I'm going to select column A, and then close parentheses and hit enter. Now you'll see a 0 pops up here, and if we select a company name in cell C13, that ID number will automatically populate. You can repeat the same approach for the other fields like contact name, phone number, email address. Each formula simply looks at the selected client and returns the corresponding column. So in just a bit, I'm going to show you how to automatically generate invoice numbers and calculate due dates based on the client payment terms. But let's go ahead and do more examples of the XLOOKUP formula together, and then I'll show you how you can wrap the XLOOKUP formula in an if statement that will keep the cells blank if no client is selected. It just makes for a cleaner looking template. So let's go back to the client contact name. Now we want to insert the XLOOKUP formula here. We're going to type equals XLOOKUP, open parentheses. We're going to look up the value of the client company name. We're going to hit function F4 to anchor that, comma, navigate back to the client list, select client name, comma, and now we want to return the contact name, close parentheses, and hit enter. Now if we come back up to the client company name and we hit delete, so to clear that out, notice that we have zeros that are showing up here. So what we want to do is we want to wrap the XLOOKUP formula in an if statement that will show blank if no value is in the company name. So just come up to your formula bar, and where it says equals, place your cursor, and then just type if, open parentheses, and the logical test is if this cell equals blank, so we're going to just put two quotes, comma, then we want to return blank, so just put two quotes, comma, Otherwise, we want the XLOOKUP formula to return a value. So then all we have to do is come to the very end and close out our statement with another parentheses and hit enter. Now notice that this is blank instead of displaying a 0. So you can do the same thing below here. You can type if, open parentheses, client company name equals blank, so 2 quotes, comma, then display blank, comma, otherwise display the XLOOKUP formula value, close parentheses at the very end, and hit enter. So now you have a cleaner looking invoice template, and you can select any of your client names and the data will show up. And then if you hit delete to clear it out, it will be clear and blank. Now I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of these XLOOKUP formulas. Next, we'll create an automatic invoice number. First, we're going to insert the today function here on the date cell. So I'm just going to type equals today, open and close parentheses, and hit enter. That will always populate the current date, so today's date will populate when you open the spreadsheet. Now for the invoice number, we can combine text and the client ID and then the date. So for example, we can type equals, open quotes, INV, space, dash, space, close quotes, ampersand to connect. We're going to select the client ID number. Then we're going to hit ampersand again. And then we're going to type quotes, space, dash, space, quotes, and then an ampersand to connect. Then we're going to say text, open parentheses, and then we're going to select the cell with today's date. And we're going to anchor that, function F4. And then we're going to put comma, quotes, MMDDYY, close quotes, and close parentheses, and hit enter. So now every time you select a new company, the invoice will automatically update with the correct client ID number and today's date. Next, we'll calculate the invoice due date based on the client's payment terms that we have pulling in here from the client database. Go ahead and select the cell where we have the due date, and we're going to start an if statement. Type equals, if, open parentheses, and the logical test is going to be if the cell here equals, open quotes, net 15, close quotes, comma, then we want to take this date plus 15. Otherwise, we want to do something else. And then we put another if statement. So we'll say if, open parentheses, that cell C36 equals, quotes, net 30, close quotes, then comma, we want to add 30 to the date, so plus 30, comma, if, open parentheses, C36 equals, open quotes, due on receipt, close quotes. Then we just want to return due on receipt. So we'll do quotes, due on receipt, close quotes, and then we'll close our parentheses and hit enter. So now, depending on the client that we select, so if the client has a net 15 terms for payment, it'll add 15 days to the date. And if a client has a net 30 for their terms, then it will add 30 days to the date for the due date. And if it's due on receipt, then it'll simply say due on receipt. Now we're going to use XLOOKUP again to automatically pull in the unit price. So we want to do the same thing down here where we are going to reference a drop-down list selection, but this time we want the drop-down list to be any of our products and services from our Products and Services tab. So to do that, we're going to select our cell, come up to the Data tab. In the Data Tools area, drop down, click Data Validation. We're going to select List, and then down here under Source, we'll put our cursor, navigate this time to the Products and Services list, and select column B where we have all of our products and services listed, and then click OK. So now we can hit Control C to copy that, and copy that all the way down. So now each of these rows here contain our drop-down list selection for all of our products and services. Now I'm going to use XLOOKUP to pull in the price for each of those products or services. So I'm going to come over to the price column and select that. I'm going to come up to the formula bar up here. I'm going to type equals. I'll start typing XLOOKUP, hit tab, and then the value I'm going to look up is the service or product over here in the description area. That's cell B22. Then I'm going to hit comma, and then we're going to look that up over here in the products and services. I'm going to select column B, and then we want to return, so I'm going to hit comma. The return array is going to be column C. Then I'm going to close parentheses and hit enter. And now I'm going to select that cell, but before I copy down, I'll go ahead and wrap that in my if statement so that it'll be blank if there's nothing there. It just keeps the invoice template cleaner. I'm going to place my cursor next to equals, type if, open parentheses, and my logical test is if the description equals blank, so double quotes, comma, double quotes to leave it blank, comma, otherwise I want it to return the XLOOKUP formula. Then I'm going to come to the end, add my last parentheses, and hit enter. So now I can drag to copy that formula down. And so now whenever I select a product or service over here, I have the unit price that will pop in automatically. Then I can enter in my quantity of either hours or units, whether I have services or products, and just add that in here. And this will automatically calculate my amounts over here. Now, if you're learning useful Excel automation from this video, consider subscribing. I post new tutorials regularly that help you automate your tasks at work and save you time. Now we're going to calculate the item totals. And for the line total, we could simply multiply the units by the price. But if we do that, Excel will display zeros on every empty row, which makes the invoice look messy. Instead, I'm using a slightly smarter formula here that keeps the cell blank until the values are entered. That way, the invoice stays clean and only shows totals for the items that are actually used. So this is the special formula I'm using, and it's copied down for each cell in this column. Next, I'm calculating the subtotal just by summing all of the amount values. I have a special tax rate entered here. My total tax is simply my tax rate times the subtotal. And then for my total invoice, I'm adding the subtotal plus the total tax. Now finally, what we want to do is have the invoice print cleanly as a one-page PDF if we need to save it or email it out. So we're going to come up here, we're going to go up to page layout. I'm going to click on margins, custom margins, the page tab. I'm going to make sure that the box here is checked that says fit to 1 page wide by 1 page tall. Then if I do a print preview, I'll see that my invoice stays on 1 page. Now that you know how to create this automated invoice template in Excel that automatically pulls in the client and pricing details, be sure and watch my next video. I'll show you how you can mass create multiple statements at once and email them out in bulk. If you found this video helpful, be sure and give it a thumbs up to like it, subscribe to my channel, and visit my website, SharonSmithHR.com. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.